10 ways a relationship becomes emotionally unsafe. Hey guys, I'm Laura and I make videos that will awaken your awareness. And I wanted to make this video because I have had some toxic relationships. This is romantic relationships or even friendships or even family relationships. So I think it's important that we can acknowledge when a relationship is emotionally unsafe, because one thing I didn't like about, I was in a domestic violent relationship, right? And I had to go do these classes. And one thing I didn't like is calling it domestic violent relationships, because I realized you can be in a domestic violent relationship without violence. There's many different forms of abuse, and I believe it should be called domestic abuse instead of domestic violence, because again, you could be in a domestic violent relationship without the violence. So I'm going to run through 10 ways that you're in a relationship that's emotionally unsafe. Number 1 is blaming, shaming, or criticizing. And again, this could be romantic relationships, friendships, or family, or even like managers at work, co-workers, any type of relationship. It doesn't have to just be romantic. But if you're constantly being blamed, shamed, or criticized, that is unhealthy. That's toxic behavior. And if people are treating you like this, then keep away from them. If it's in a workplace situation, then you just look into the employment laws and you take things above them. There's always someone above to go to. Number 2 is not following through with promises. So people will make promises, these false promises, and they don't have any intention to follow through with that promise, because some people like to just tell you what you want to think, or what you want to hear, I should say. They tell you what you want to hear to keep you around, to keep you happy, or to keep you believing that they're a good person or whatever reason. But yeah, someone's always like making these promises, like empty promises to you, and they're not following through. Then I suggest you cut ties with that person. Number 3 is turning away from bids for attention. So this is kind of like, in a way, like a form of rejection, really. We're in a relationship. It's like you want to have this positive connection, you want affection, but if you're not getting that, or they're not responding to you wanting that, then that's unhealthy. You want people to show up in a relationship with positive attitudes, positive mindsets, positive ways of just treating you. And if people are doing any of this sort of thing, it's all negative, and you don't really want yourself to be around these types of people. So if people are doing this, then you need to just cut ties again. It's no point wasting time with people like this at all, really. Number 4 is like ignoring you, or like the silent treatment. Again, that's another unhealthy, toxic behavior. If people can't be grown-ups about things, they can't be grown up enough to communicate, and instead they're just like doing silent treatments, where you might ask them something like, you might be cooking your partner a feed, and like, hey, you hungry, do you want a feed? And they're just not responding. It's rude. It's rude, and it's toxic behavior. So it's like, if you're being treated like this by anyone, then you can always try and talk to the person before you cut them out of your life, but it depends on how they're going to respond to that conversation. You know what I mean? Some people might be willing to change and actually put in the work and prove that they're going to change. Some people might talk about changing and do no action to change. That's against toxic behavior as well. So you cut those sorts of people out, because it's just not worth your time and energy, really. Number 5 is inconsistency and unpredictability. So if people showing up in your life like this, again, could be family members, just because you're related to someone, like they're a blood relative, does not mean that you have to have them in your life if they're showing up with toxic behavior. You have every right to cut anyone out of your life that displays toxic behavior. It doesn't matter who they are. So if someone's showing up with inconsistency and unpredictability, and you don't like this, then you kind of just got to cut them out, stay away. Number 6, this sort of behavior, right? Turning your back, rolling your eyes, sighing, withholding touch, or any other hurtful body language. I remember I had a ex who, I went to give him a kiss and he just pulled away. And for me, because I already had issues with rejection from my childhood, right? For me to lean in to give someone a kiss is like a huge deal for me because I'm uh, have issues with rejection. And then when my partner does that, it's like a big thing for me to do that, and then he's pulling away like, nah, for no reason. Like I hadn't done anything, I didn't do anything to deserve it. It was just him because he was a toxic person that punched me over at the end of that relationship. But just being a toxic person, just being a dick, basically. And that was like something that like affected me emotionally because it was hard for me to actually put myself in that position in the first place. So when people are, doing any sort of like behavior like that, hurtful type body language, like I say, you can always try and talk to these people and tell them how you feel, like, hey, this isn't cool, I don't like you doing this. But not everyone's mature enough to own their toxic behavior and want to change. So you can't get through to people that aren't mature enough to like listen. And again, you just got to protect yourself and stay away from these sorts of people. Number 7. Oh, that's like what I talked about before. Rejection, dismissal, or invalidation. So if they're showing up and treating you like this, it's disgusting, toxic behavior. They're immature. Stay away, okay? Number 8 is dishonesty, lies, or secrets. So man, yeah, that is like a huge no for me, lying, I cannot stand lying, being secretive, like, you might be dating a guy or a girl that's like being secretive and talking to someone else that they're attracted to behind your back, things like this. So you just got to make that decision about whether or not that person's worth having in your life. Number 9, retaliation, manipulation, or playing games. My ex was doing this with me as well. And because I'm one of those people that I always like try to look for the good in others and ignore the bad or ignore their flaws. And sometimes it comes back and bites you in the butt. And so the thing is though, like my ex was manipulating me, but I didn't realize it for a while. He was manipulating me, but then my gut instinct started telling me. I remember during the relationship, like my gut instincts was telling me, like, I'm sure I'm being manipulated. Because I never really been manipulated, like in a relationship with someone before where they've manipulated me before, so I wasn't sure of the signs or whatever. But my gut instincts was telling me, to the point where I started Googling it, like signs of manipulation, because I felt like I was being manipulated and he's playing games with me. And like, because he was a narcissistic type. A lot of these traits come from like narcissistic people. You're not going to get traits like this from an empath type person. So it's generally narcissistic types. But like my ex used to manipulate and play games and all that sort of thing, like mind games. And I'm not about that. Like I don't vibe on those frequencies. I'm not about that behavior. That's not part of my personal little world. So, if you're around someone that's like doing this, just cut them out. See you, bye. No, and the last one, number 10, is power struggles. Seeking power over, like they're seeking power over you, or being overly controlling. And this normally comes from narcissistic type people too. My ex was the same with this as well, always very controlling about where I am and who I'm seeing. And it was because he is so insecure and always accused me of cheating, even though there was no reason for him to ever think that. But it stemmed from his own childhood with his mum cheating on all her 5 or 6 husbands she had. So he developed some type of mindset where he thinks that, oh, women are going to cheat on me too. And I'm constantly being accused of it, even though there's no reason to. I've never given him any reason to think that, because I'm not like that. I'm loyal. I'm the loyal type. Constantly, trying to control you or have power over you, or like almost treat you as if they own you. Like you're theirs to own. No one owns you. No one has that right. Doesn't matter if you're in a relationship with them. Still doesn't give them the right to own you and control you. And if they think that way, then they're toxic, they're immature, and they're not worth having in your life. So those are the 10 ways that a relationship is emotionally unsafe. If you're experiencing these sorts of things in your relationships, whether it be friends, family, romantic relationships, work relationships, whatever, You have to either cut these people out, make the decision that they're not worth being around because they're going to affect your own personal energy field in like a negative way. They're going to bring you down in low vibes. They're going to create more issues with you. When, I mean, at the end of the day, most of us already have issues stemming from our childhood that we need to heal from. We don't need to be around these toxic people that also have their own unhealed childhood wounds and have them create more wounds in us. Do you know what I'm saying? With their toxic behavior, it's not worth it. Like if you're in a romantic relationship with someone that's toxic, I'm going to make it really clear, because some people just can't be alone. They're scared to be alone, so they just put up with it. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is so much better being a single person, doing life on your own, than it is being in a toxic relationship. You'll be much happier and healthier as a single person than in a toxic relationship. I mean, I've been single for a few years because my last long-term relationship was very toxic, and I've learned to be more picky about the sorts of guys that I want to be around and be with. Like, I don't want anyone that's got any toxic behavior or narcissistic personalities, but I attract narcissistic people in because it stems from my abandonment wound that I need to work on and heal, which I have been doing. I've been working on that for a wee while now. After attracting another narcissist in earlier this year, I was like, oh God, another one. But yeah, I know that it stems from my abandonment wound, but a lot of these behaviors do come from narcissistic people, and these are the sorts of people that can't own up to their own toxic behavior and won't make the choice to better themselves, to work on their toxic behaviors and better themselves. Because I kind of see it as there's two types of people in the world. Because, I kind of think that everyone's got some sort of toxic behavior, but different levels of it. Some people might have a little bit of toxic behavior here and there, while other people have a lot of toxic behavior. But the way I see it is there's two types of people in the world. There's people that have toxic behavior, own it, and commit to working on it so they become better versions of themselves, aka me. And then there's people that have toxic behavior who don't see a problem with their behavior. They don't think that they're toxic, and therefore they won't do anything to change that toxic behavior. You can't get through to them, even if you try to tell them and make it clear to them, like, hey, I don't like this sort of behavior, you need to change it, you need to work on yourself. They're not going to do it. Unfortunately, narcissistic people can't see a problem with themselves. So it's always everyone else is the problem, so you're not going to get through to them anyways, which is why it's better to just cut them out of your life and stay away. Again, if it's a work situation and you've got this sort of unhealthy behavior going on, well, there are employment laws that protect you. I mean, they're probably different in every country, but you can just simply go online and look into, educate yourself on employment laws, and then look at how you can go around working or dealing with these sorts of people in the workplace. There's always someone above someone that you can go to. So if your manager's not going to listen to you about it, or your manager's a problem, then you go above the manager. There's always some way around it, but the less toxic people in your life, the better, because everything in our reality is energy, frequency, and vibration. And whatever energy you allow around yourself is going to affect your own personal energy field. And so if you're allowing toxic people and toxic behavior around you, it's going to affect your own vibes. It's going to bring you down, and it's more likely going to create more wounds within you that need healing, that you don't really want more. You know what I mean? So it's like looking out for yourself. Just looking out for yourself and committing to only having healthy relationships in your life. I hope you liked this video, guys. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Write a comment if you want, and if you like this sort of content, then subscribe and hit the bell notification, because I make daily videos on my channel. So I hope you stick around. Hope I see you on the next one. Peace.